Hey everyone, this is Pete. Welcome back to Atari ST A to Z, a series of short playthroughs of Atari ST games, some of which I grew up with and some of which are new to me. Today is one of the latter, actually. This is The Light Corridor by Infogrames. Now, I never played this back in the day, so this is all new to me. However, I do remember seeing adverts for it, and I do remember playing a lot of games by Infogrames back at the time. Infogrames were a French developer and publisher who became quite renowned for being probably the quintessential French developer in the late 80s and early 90s. And French games at the time were regarded as being weird. And The Light Corridor is certainly weird. And so what this is basically, this is kind of almost a 3D take on Breakout in many ways. Except instead of destroying blocks, you are trying to navigate your way down this corridor without losing this ball. So you fire the ball off into the distance, it bounces off walls. And at the same time, you need to proceed down the corridor by holding down the left mouse button. And so you lose life if the ball goes past you. And you gain points by advancing. And it's not very easy. Oh dear. So you need to kind of learn the levels, figure out the best way to go, figure out how you're going to keep the ball moving, avoid obstacles like those doors there, and try and avoid the ball getting into positions where it's just going to bounce back at you like that. So, that was our first attempt. Not too bad. Let's have another go. So, like I say, French games in this period, early 90s, late 80s, were kind of renowned as being weird. In fact, they were often sort of mocked as being weird, in the same way that a lot of Japanese games get mocked for being weird these days. But in fact, a lot of them were really, really creative. So they take established formulae and do something interesting with them. So, for example, like I say, in this one, the basic formula, it's just taking the old tennis and squash games, but transplanting it into 3D to provide a new take on it. And then it's combining that with things like sort of power-ups that you get in something like Arkanoid. So you can get like the sticky bat and that kind of thing. And then fusing the whole thing with kind of a 3D dodging game. So it's obviously something that would take a fair amount of practice, but it is learnable. So these levels aren't randomized. They are designed so you can learn them. You can learn the routes, you can learn the best way to bounce the ball, the obstacles you're going to have to prepare for going forward. And there's also an editor as well, so you can create your own levels. Up to stage 4, this is progress. And yeah, as well as being regarded as weird in the late 80s, early 90s, the other thing that French games were well known for was being beautifully presented. And obviously this isn't the most complicated game to look at or anything, but it is presented really well. So we've got digital sound, we've got lovely smooth frame rate, we've got this nice abstract presentation that's sort of minimalist, but that means it's aged really nicely. So the actual appearance of this game is pretty akin to something you might see from like a modern indie game. So this looks very much like something like Super Hexagon or games of that ilk. And that was quite a common theme with a lot of French games. So they would use various artistic techniques that meant that their graphics aged very nicely. So they often did that with fairly limited but stylized use of colour, which was often incorporated into the game's overall aesthetic. One game we might get into later in this series is called Purple Saturday. That was a French game that was basically a sort of sci-fi Olympics game. The very concept behind this game was that sort of once every so often Saturn will turn purple, and that is the signal that these games need to take place. And so that was built right into the whole aesthetic of the whole game. The whole thing was sort of infused with this shade of purple, and it made it part of the design. It also meant that the graphics have aged quite well, because the colour choice was not born out of technical limitations, it was born out of a deliberate aesthetic design. And the same's true here. So it's sort of keeping this very muted blue colour scheme going on. And it looks really nice. So it's not the easiest game in the world to play, as you can see. But it is addictive. Gosh, yes. I'm enjoying this. So it's frustrating, particularly when the ball comes flying at you so fast. It feels like almost you're not really able to respond to it properly. But it is fun. Let's have one more try at that. So this kind of presentation also calls to mind things like Mizuguchi's Res, which is a long-time favourite of mine. Obviously this doesn't have the sort of music-inspired aspect to it as well, but it is presented in very much the same way, this lovely sort of abstract, coloured look. I don't know if the colours actually change or evolve as you go further in this, but as you can see, I'm not exactly getting a long way on each run through at the moment, but I think the thing you need to learn, I guess, is how to make the ball go where you want it to without it flying off in unpredictable directions. I think certainly that red glue power-up seems to be key to making that happen. Not sure what those blue cubes do. Also, you can make use of the sound effects to predict when the ball's going to come back as well, I think. If you can hear it bouncing off stuff, you know it's probably going to be heading back in your direction soon. So you can just wait for it to come back, and that gives you a bit more time to prepare for it. Yeah, there we are. That's obviously the key strategy here. We'll get it caught behind a wall. That's good too. Oh, missed. Oh no. Because it's just slightly too quick to be comfortable. So it does just... yeah, it does just keep you on edge just a little bit, just by being slightly too fast. I'm going to have another go, because I'm enjoying this. Uh-oh. 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 Right, grab the red thing. Catch the ball. Yeah, I think part of the reason there are so many of those red power-ups is it's... ooh, what was that? That was a different sound. The red power-up seem... oh, it runs out. That's not good. Yeah, the red power-up is pretty key to success, I think. And so you want to try and grab that whenever you can, because just knocking the ball back can be pretty dangerous. Oh, yeah, look at the speed of that. It's ridiculous. Yeah, this is hypnotic. I really like this. I say this is not one I played back in the day, but this is one I remember seeing a lot of adverts for in games magazines. Infogrames, sort of, despite having a reputation for making weird games, they also made games that seemed to sell quite well and got good reviews from magazines. So they obviously had the budget to be able to promote their stuff quite effectively as well. So yeah, I saw this quite a lot in magazines like Ace. I remember seeing adverts for it. Probably saw it in things like ST Action and stuff like that as well. Ace is the one that springs immediately to mind, because this was a multi-platform game. It came out on ST and Amiga and I think PC as well. So gaming PCs were just starting to become a thing at this point. So they still weren't really up to the same standard as the ST and the Amiga. So they were still limited by things like EGA graphics and PC speaker sound, and maybe some early sound cards at that time. I'm not entirely sure when things like AdLib and Sound Blaster first became a thing, but yeah, certainly the best experience for what we now know as PC games, computer games, at this point was on the ST and Amiga rather than the PC as it is these days. Oh, that's not fair. Yeah, still not sure what those blue cubes are doing. I think the other thing you need in this game is a bit more of a delicate touch than I'm providing. So this is another one of those games that kind of overcompensates for the fact the Atari ST's mouse wasn't very sensitive by making the mouse controls very, very sensitive. Alright, last try, promise. And then I will spare you from any more of this. Oh, no. Oh, damn it. Oh dear, this is not a good run. Maybe one more go after this. Maybe one more. Just the one. Wee. Oh. Wait. Oh. You bouncing off power-ups. That's good. Ah. Right. Last try. This really is the last try now. Promise. Promise. Maybe. So despite the red power-ups making your bat sticky, it does appear that when you fire off the ball again, it's, rather than it just firing it off in a straight line, it is as if you've just bounced it off your bat at that angle. So you still need to bear that in mind when you do launch it again. So you see there, when it's on the bottom of the bat, it will then bounce downwards towards the floor. Oh, that was terrible, wasn't it? Go left. Oh! No! No, no, no. Oh no, that's not nice. Well, I think I've hit my limit with that game for now. So, yeah, that is The Light Corridor by Infogrames. Well worth your time from the look of things, and I'm probably going to be playing a bit more of that in my own free time. So, hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please help out the channel by leaving a like or a comment and subscribing. New episodes of Atari A to Z are on Tuesdays and Atari ST A to Z on Thursdays. Check out atariatoz.wordpress.com for a full archive. Do please also check out my other projects moegamer.net, where I explore Japanese and Japanese-inspired games from yesterday and today, and videopackgames.wordpress.com, which aims to catalogue the small but well-formed library of the Philips G7000 Videopack computer, also known as the Magnavox Odyssey 2. You can also support my work on Patreon or buy me a coffee. You can find links to do both down in the video description. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.